Teamwork in Phasmophobia isn't just about calling out evidence. Learn these 10 unspoken rules, and your team will love you for it. This first one is pretty obvious. Don't use cursed objects without warning your team first. Nothing is worse when you start hearing the distant sounds of tarot cards being pulled, only for it to initiate a cursed hunt. Most people doing this are usually just trolling. This is a surefire way to get kicked faster than you can say cursed object. Speaking of cursed objects, if you have the tarot cards, don't pull them all yourself. Most people in this game prefer to play the tarot card roulette, where you each take turns pulling a card, then passing it to the next person. This isn't always an unspoken rule, but I think most of us can agree that the cards are the most fun cursed object, and it sucks when one person's hogging all the fun. Sorry van princess, but this one's for you. Don't loiter in the van for too long, as it's totally fine to regroup or watch for dots, but no one likes a van princess. If you end up spending most of your time sitting in the van watching the cameras, you're not very helpful to your team. There's a good chance they close the van without telling you what the ghost is. Now this next one is probably the most important one. Make sure to share the smudges. If there are 4 players in the game, you only get 1 smudge unless you ask for another one. I've seen higher level players take many without asking, or poor newer players wasting them left and right. I get it, you're trying to survive or guess the ghost. I don't know about you, but if this happens to me, I'm either just gonna camp in a hiding spot, or I might just end up becoming a van princess myself. Now this next unspoken rule has a fine line, but a great skill to have is to articulate your reasoning for why you think the ghost is what it is. You shouldn't over-explain anything, but it's always annoying when someone says, "It's the twins," without giving any reason as to why. Occasionally just take a breather and talk to your team to share your thoughts. Now that's not to say you shouldn't trust your teammates, but there's no I in team. Share your thoughts so everyone can always be on the same page. This one's going to be pretty specific. When someone's trying Spirit Box, step out of the room for a moment. There's been countless times where I've seen people try using the Spirit Box only for someone to walk in, start turning on the lights, and then start checking for UV or freezing temperatures. I assume most of you know this, but the Spirit Box won't work with the lights on. There's another mechanic where it might only give you a response if you are alone in the room. Now there will be some times where it will give you responses with other people in the room, but just for consistency, the moment you hear the Spirit Box turn on, finish up what you're doing and maybe go look for the bone. Grab some other items from the truck or just hang out with your buddies outside of the ghost room. A similar point is don't start turning on lights when someone's checking for ghost orbs. Ghost orbs are quick and easy to identify, but if someone starts turning on the lights and maybe setting up dots, it's pretty hard to see. If you see someone holding up a video camera, just be patient for a moment and let them do their thing. And obviously if you do see ghost orbs, it's mandatory that you have to remind your team that it could still be a mimic. Only joking, of course. This next one's required as I'm usually the group photographer, but you should always call out where the bone is over the radio. And if I'm in a position where I'm not too pressed over getting a photo of the bone, I let my team know if they find the bone that they can just pick it up. If you're about to go look for the bone, make sure to just ask your team if they found it yet. Sometimes I've forgotten to ask, only to find out 10 minutes later that someone had already picked it up. It's a great habit to get into, and it can save you a lot of future headache. You're probably noticing a pattern about a lot of these dealing with teamwork. This next one might not necessarily be an unspoken rule. If you have any extra space, ask your team if they'd like any equipment from the truck. If you don't know what to grab, maybe you can bring in an extra smudge, or grab some salt to test for UV. This is the type of player I always want on my team, and stuff like this will always be appreciated. We all know Phasmophobia has a pretty great community. This last unspoken rule is to be respectful and patient with all types of players. Whether it's a newer player struggling to grasp some gameplay mechanics, or someone adamant that a misconception is true, there's no reason to be mean or disrespectful to anyone. I think one of the most important unspoken rules is to be a leader and support your teammates. You don't necessarily have to lead each investigation, but being nice and helpful to your team is the best way to play this game. A bonus unspoken rule is that the highest level player in the lobby should always fill the van with their gear. If there's a case where there's only a small difference in levels, it's not too big of a deal, but the highest level player will always have the highest tier gear and usually the most money. Don't make everyone suffer through using tier 1 items, please. If you follow these unspoken rules, I'm sure you're gonna start making a lot of friends in the community. Let me know what some of your unspoken rules are in Phasmophobia in the comments. And if you do want a place to talk about this game, or just gaming in general, I do have a Discord server. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck with your investigations.